Okay, I started recording now.
Very good. Well, how about we give a warm welcome for our workshop, our first ever workshop in our class for our teacher / coach, Anca.
So can I start? Yeah.
Yes.
Let me just share the screen with you. Can you see the screen?
Yes.
All right. So today I will be leading a workshop on groupthink. Do you know what groupthink is? Are you familiar with the concept?
Korea.
Okay. Oh. Sorry, I just somehow. Sorry for this. So the aim, let me present you the aim and the structure of this workshop. What I hope to achieve is that the participants will gain a basic understanding of the concept and have like an awareness of what groupthink is. I would also like you to be able to recognize groupthink and to take away a few tools how to avoid it and how to sort of mitigate its negative impact. The structure will be as follows: approximately 10 minutes of just concept introduction. So it will be kind of like my presentation where mainly I will speak. In the 10 minutes following that, we'll have work in pairs or in threes. You could decide for yourself when we get to this, in breakout rooms. And then the last 10 minutes will be dedicated to discussion where we can share the ideas that we came up with. And I'm also happy to adjust the time if we would like to do more of one section and more of another. Yeah. So the definition of groupthink is it's basically when people in groups strive for consensus within a group. It's a psychological phenomenon, and it was first mentioned, or the term was coined by a social psychologist in 1972. He was called Irving L. Janis. And it's basically when people don't express opposing opinions to the opinion that they perceive as a majority group opinion. We should distinguish between groupthink and conformity. So conformity is not necessarily bad. I mean, it's neutral, so it can be bad or good, and it's usually just when you want to fit in a society or in a group. And conformity, it's neutral. But then groupthink, it's mainly, it has a negative connotation, and it's always when there's sort of a decision making involved. And sort of like a general definition would be of groupthink that when there's a lack of conflict and opposing viewpoints, it leads to poor decisions because alternatives are not fully analyzed, and the group does not consider enough diverse information to make a well-informed decision. So here are a few signs of groupthink. Illusion of unanimity. So it's basically when you just assume, yes, everybody agrees. The second one would be unquestioned beliefs. So when you think, okay, this is what everybody believes, and nobody will say, are you sure it's like this? Rationalizing would be when you just say, it makes sense. I mean, this is the right thing, and it's logical like this, or just finding justification for your decisions. Stereotyping would be, for example, saying, oh, this group of people is like this, so it will probably be like this. I think the interesting sign is also self-censorship. It's basically when you don't express your idea because you think, I don't want to disturb the group dynamics. I don't want to, my opinion, it doesn't really matter right now. Mind guards are people who are self-appointed guards of the group ideas. I would also like to mention direct pressure and peer pressure when you're under time pressure, when you're under pressure from in like a hierarchical structure. And also moral high ground is when a group takes moral high ground in the sense of saying like, oh, we have this virtue, our decision is good because we are morally good. So how does it work? Think of your experience. Have you ever been in a team project and you thought that an idea of the project was bad, but then everybody else thought the idea was good? And did you go along with the idea, or did you say, hey, I think this is not the best idea? And basically, this shows that we engage in groupthink when we fear our opinions will disrupt the group harmony, and when we fear rejection of others based on our opinion, which is different. Here, a few textbook examples. So the Challenger space shuttle launch, when the space shuttle crashed, I think 70 seconds after the launch. Apparently, people knew that there was faults in the process, but they were too scared to express it because they thought, oh, there will be too many bad consequences, which is strange because, of course, the worst consequence is when the space shuttle collapses. There's many different examples here, but I think the most common example is the one that we experience in our life. So not the textbook ones, but the ones that we have been a part of. And here I would like you to take a minute and just to think of for yourself, when was a time that you experienced groupthink? And yeah, so now you can just think for yourself for about a minute. Or maybe it was not exactly a minute, but I think we can just continue with the workshop to keep it moving. So what are some of the causes of groupthink? It's mainly when there's a group identity and you try to, submit to this group identity, when there's a leader that is too influential and is sort of dominating the group ideas, and when there's stress, so time stress, financial stress, sort of a stress to achieve, pressure to achieve certain achievements. And there are also contributing factors. So there's a high degree of cohesiveness and situational factors like moral issues that are involved in the decision, and difficult decisions that are when you're taking difficult decisions. And there are also structural issues. So when there's not structures put in place that support different ideas, when the group that is making the decision is isolated, or again, when there's the issue with leadership. So when they don't promote different ideas. And the impact is that you ignore important information, and that leads to poor decisions. So you suppress, so the individual opinions are suppressed. There is not enough creative thought, and there's inefficient problem solving. Second impact would be the self-censorship, and also inadequate risk and benefit assessment, and also overvaluing consensus. So thinking that it's really important that everyone agrees. And the third example would be there's a biased sense of righteousness. Yeah, sorry. Here are a few problems that can arise from a groupthink. So it's basically not seeing potential negative outcomes. They say that groupthink is one of the biggest killers of innovation, of creativity. So the result is also lack of diverse opinions or expressing diverse opinions. There's poor preparations for different scenarios. So for example, when you're doing a risk assessment and when you're preparing, plan A, plan B, plan C, when not everybody who thinks, oh, this could go wrong or this could go wrong, when they don't express it, then the group cannot prepare for these different scenarios. Your problems are also ignoring important information. There's lack of curiosity, lack of feedback, and rejecting novelties, and other problems. So now we can go to a 10-minute breakout activity. We can do it either in pairs or in a group of threes. I would invite you to decide if you would prefer to do it in pairs or in threes.
I like pairs.
Okay, so Professor, could you, after this
Sure.
explanation, just randomly assign pairs? And then when you are in this group activity, the pair activity, I will ask you to discuss with your partner and come up with at least 2 suggestions of how to avoid groupthink. And make sure that with your partner you describe them well, so that you will be able to present them to your colleagues. And also when we have the discussion later on, you will need to argument why you think this suggestion is good and explain why you think this will help. And you can come up with more than 2 ideas, of course. And then after the 10 minutes, we will just share and discuss what you prepared in the 10 minutes.
And so I'm just curious because I've always wondered, are you, since you're the co-host, are you able to make breakout rooms on your own?
Wait, I'll stop sharing now. And
Okay.
no.
It's not allowing you? Okay, no problem. So since I'm the host, what it's doing is it's putting you into a room. So basically,
I can go in the
no,
room and then leave.
yeah, well, I'm gonna assign you to a room that doesn't exist. Well, I'll put you in your own room. You don't have to go, but that way I can join Namgi, who I was assigned to. Okay. All right. So how long do we have?
10 minutes.
10 minutes
timing,
to.
yeah.
Okay. Just let me know if yeah, I'm in room 1, so let me know if you actually you can't come to my room. If you need to communicate somehow, just
I'll use the
send me.
chat. I think if I write in the chat, you will all get it.
Actually, no, that's not the case in breakout rooms. Yeah.
Oh.
Because you said you're not able to make the rooms. There's a way to communicate to all the rooms, but I'm the only one that can do it, I think, since
so
you're not able to make it.
maybe then by Kakao Talk.
Yeah, so I'll keep an eye on my phone if you need to say anything, okay?
Okay, thank
All right.
you.
Sure.
Hi, how are you doing?
Oh yeah,
It's
we
so
are.
difficult. Can you make two suggestions? And this two suggestion?
Can I make suggestions?
Yeah.
I don't want to make suggestions. This is your activity. I mean, you can also like find some information online. You're welcome to do that, you know. Just I think that you should come up with your own ideas.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm sure you can do it too. It's how would you avoid it, you know? How would you stimulate people to share their opinions, even though when they think maybe their opinions are undervalued or might be unpopular?
Yeah. Jessica and I agree. We should hear the expert opinion of third party.
All right, so guys, I will leave you to it. I think if you're ready, maybe we can finish a bit earlier and then go to the discussion.
Okay.
If you're okay with time.
Thank you.
Okay. So. Hi.
Hello. Hello.
Just checking on you.
Yeah. We have two solutions. So.
Okay. So if you have enough time, I'm thinking maybe to finish a bit earlier and go on to have a more discussion. If you're not pressed for time.
Yeah, that's
okay.
Great. Yeah.
So you're doing well?
Yeah.
Okay. So then I will just move on and speak to the other group.
Okay. Good job.
Hello, yeah, I was able to assign myself somehow.
Oh, hi. Okay, good.
Just coming to check on you, how you're doing.
Yeah, we each had one scenario of groupthink and different a different method of maybe trying to solve it.
Okay. So I'm thinking if you've already come up with solutions, if you're not pressed for time, we could leave the groups earlier and have a group discussion to have more time for the discussion, if that's okay for you.
Yeah. Would you like us to leave individually, or do you want to close all the rooms? Like, do you want people to come when they're...
I think I'll just wait for maybe 1 more minute or 30 more seconds and close the rooms.
Okay. Well, I guess we're pretty much done now, so we'll leave.
Oh, so then you can close for everyone. Then it's okay.
Okay.
Everyone's ready. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, we got 15 seconds. Thank you.
All right, welcome back. So I decided that I won't share my slides with you anymore because there's no more information on them, just the slides for the discussion, but I think the discussion will be better if we can see each other without the slides taking the screen. Welcome back. So now I invite you to present your ideas, and then I would also like to invite the rest to comment on the ideas and see if you think they're useful or if you have a comment on the improvement of them, or and also I purposely didn't include any solutions myself here because I wanted you to think creatively and offer your input. So if we have any group volunteer to go first.
I'll volunteer. So our first scenario was when a boss does not solicit feedback and there's no diversity of opinions in a work setting, what to do. And the solution basically that I thought is, oh, I'm sorry, Nang, you mentioned get outside opinions. Get outside opinions. I think related to that is my suggestion to maybe find who or what can be influential toward your boss. If you are not, if he or she doesn't listen to you, then find out who he or she does listen to and try to work with that person. The second scenario was regarding masks. when I made a joke about Korea, I didn't understand exactly how Anca would define groupthink, and it doesn't quite fit with what I was thinking. But what I meant by Korea was there's a strong tendency to conform, for better or for worse. And masks are a good example. There's, I would say, a 99.9% compliance with mask wearing on the subway or in public. And I'm actually the 0.1% that lately has been increasingly desiring to not comply with that. And it's not just to be a rebel, it's because I think that the solution I'm suggesting is to do research. I just don't find any evidence that it helps. Maybe it's more psychological, but the fact that people are waiting for the government to give them permission to start like breathing the air freely, to me, that's a problem. I don't think that's a free society if we're waiting for the government to give us permission for everything, including when we can take off our mask. So my solution to groupthink or anti-groupthink is to just do research. And from what I can tell, there's not much good evidence why we need to be doing the mask mandates. That's it.
Yeah, thank you. So I noticed that you point out the importance of leadership, which is in the materials about, or readings about research about groupthink leadership. It's really important. So to make leaders educated about the potential perils of groupthink. But also, I would like to say, I noticed how in the beginning of the presentation, I distinguished between conformity and groupthink. So this is also an interesting thing that you pointed out. So would anybody else like to present their solutions?
Jessica and me, we think there is a way like this. Give someone the role of always expressing the opposition opinion. He's acting so disgusting. People don't like him. In the press of like that, in process of persuading him or listening to his opinion, we can check group thinking is right or not. Yeah. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Me and Dongi think two solutions, and the first one is a very same with Young's. I already know that word devil's advocate. So yeah, actually in my company, we kind of have that kind of role when we workshop together. So I like that role. And the second one is just unlike the brainstorming, before when we make a decision, we can hidden our opinion and just write down on the post-it and then open it finally. So maybe in that case, the individual's opinion can appeal not to follow the mainstream. So I think, yeah, that's all.
So maybe now I would ask the colleagues that haven't spoken yet in the group discussion to maybe comment on their how they would feel using maybe this role of devil's advocate or this practice of hidden opinions with the post-it notes. So the people who haven't presented, I think Jessica, Dongi, and Naoki. If maybe you could please comment on the either playing devil's advocate or doing the post-it hidden opinions.
You mean how to do that, or?
No, I'm just inviting the colleagues that have not participated in the discussion yet to maybe comment how they would.
I don't know what I should comment on that because I come up with the also I also come up with the devil's advocate idea with Inyo. So I don't know what more I should add on that.
What about this idea of the hidden post-its? Do you think maybe that you will implement this in your practice?
Yeah, I also think that is a good idea. Anonymous that maybe it can be more developed while if we add it with the poll.
Oh, the important thing is to announce each other's without knowing the others people's opinions. So Kevin and me, we think anonymous is important, most important thing. Yeah. That's why we write on the post-it and submit it, and we can gather all of the idea of our group. So yes, that's it.
Thank you.
And in my case, I cannot speak very well in front of my boss because so in that case, I can express my opinion by hidden poll or something like that. I think it's a very good idea.
So it seems to me that we should also work on making the atmosphere of the workplace and the group dynamics being more accepting towards different opinions and also more encouraging to express opinions, not just go with everyone's opinion.
I agree that, and Namgi's opinion and you. I think it is also good way to adopt opinion through the bottom up way. The bottom up method is likely to produce new opinions that are different from the existing method. Usually the new employees idea is so creative, but there is a corporate culture that is difficult to adapt to their opinion. The corporate culture should be changed in Korea or other country.
Yeah, actually, thank you for mentioning this because this is one idea that came to mind most when I was also reading different materials about groupthink. It's just the question of finding balance between when is expressing an opposing opinion beneficial, so it will lead to like a good solution, or when is expressing an opinion like hindering progress and moving forward. Because sometimes if you say, okay, I have an idea, what about this, then it can take time to from actually getting to work. So I think that finding the balance is very important. I think if anybody would still like to add something, they're welcome to. If not, then I would conclude this workshop. So if not, I would like to thank you for participating, and I'm very happy to take some feedback. As we mentioned, feedback is probably one of the most important things.
Sure. Well, Anca, thank you so much. I'm going to just take over here. Keep recording as always. Obviously, your introduction was excellent because you gave us a very clear objective, which was essentially to have some tools to avoid groupthink, in addition to obviously knowing what it is. And the minute I saw your plan in your homework, the preparation form to breakouts, I thought that's really unique. And there was a sense of pride in me as an educator, just the fact that a student is adopting that, because you're the first student I've ever seen even attempt to use breakout rooms, and I applaud you for that. I noticed that you were able to adapt quickly when you realized that there might be some communication limitations. So you thought of Kakao, and I'm glad that you were able to kind of go around the rooms as I would have done, if I were overseeing breakout rooms, which is what I do essentially. So the format was unique and appropriate for a workshop. I thought it was good. So the presentation, I thought that the information was good. Certainly I know you did your preparation and research. As far as presenting it and packaging it, it was a little bit text heavy, in my opinion, meaning that the slides, I found myself kind of trying to catch up and read as you were talking, and it was difficult to process both. That's always the risk of having lots of print on slides, is people are reading something that's different than what you're talking about. And as a consequence, sometimes you kind of don't get either one. It's kind of like multitasking. So if it's possible to illustrate in some ways through any kind of, I don't know, diagram or metaphor or symbol, those are helpful, and maybe to summarize more, instead of listing like 12 examples, just maybe give like one or two and have it kind of clear and visual. So that's my advice for that. I couldn't help but think about when you mentioned part of your definition was people with opposing ideas don't express them. What I find, I'm always trying to connect the topic to maybe larger society. What I notice happening in mainstream media and sort of in culture, especially in America, which is what I'm familiar with, it's not that people don't express them, but they're being censored. YouTube is censoring, Facebook is censoring, Twitter is censoring, in the name of protecting everyone from false information, or in the name of public health or security. All these noble kind of ideals, under that umbrella, what I see is censorship. And one of the foundations of a free society is freedom of speech. So I think that it's really dangerous, what's happening. And I'm not so sure that it's actually groupthink. It's just more people are being censored or being really pressured to not speak up, And it's interesting here in Korea, as for example, Namgi mentions his work environment. I know that's a very common thing, the whole hierarchy in work. You prioritize harmony over maybe expression, So I just think that's a trade-off. But what I see happening in so-called free societies now is you're not even having that basic freedom. It's more censorship and kind of pressure, I'd say, to conform. So people are not asking for information, they want power and control. In ideal situations, you want to gather information to make a good decision. I think that's kind of this basic, scientific method. It's the method I think we would say is appropriate for any kind of public policy and making laws, is you want to gather information, not just hard data, but what are people saying? But again, that's kind of being lost more and more in real time. Stereotyping is interesting to me because I think it has a negative connotation, stereotyping. But I think that if I were to redefine stereotyping as making a reasonable guess with limited information, I think that sounds a lot less negative, right? But I think that's actually what stereotyping is. When you stereotype a certain race or gender or characteristic of anything, you're usually basing that on others of similar characteristics, right? So patterns. Every individual is different, but there are certain patterns and there are certain characteristics that are common. So I don't think stereotyping is necessarily a bad thing. If you have limited information, you have to make some guess. And it's not that you're being, purposely negative. I just think that it's a reasonable thing that we do mentally when we don't have the full information. I think as long as you're willing to adapt your perception of individuals and of people based on information that you gather and your own experiences, I think that's what's important, okay? But I don't fault people doing that at the beginning. My question for Anca was, I'm sorry, I'm out of time. I have more questions, which I'll put maybe in my feedback to you. But the question I had for you was whether you experienced groupthink in the Floating Castle Festival planning, since that's something you organized. You know, maybe you want to comment on that at all? Did that have anything to do with you choosing this topic, or what was the reason why you thought of groupthink?
So I thought of groupthink because a YouTuber that I like posted a video about it that I also share with you, and it got me interested in the topic, and I thought also it was interesting to discuss it with the class, as well as that it was something that we could have a workshop on, so actually get you involved, get you active. But I think I feel like I have experienced groupthink in various, in group projects like at university. I think also sometimes at Floating Castle, because I would say sometimes I play the devil's advocate there because I'm doing the more practical work, and people doing the more creative work are doing a lot of, they have lots of crazy ideas. So sometimes I have to be the one saying how we would do this, that it's legal, how we would do this, that it's, financially possible. So sometimes I feel like I'm the party killer in this situation. But yeah, I feel like also there I have sometimes experienced it, but never to an extent that, I feel like it would really harm our organization dynamic or something. So I think it's something that we're aware of and that we discuss. And I never felt that I shouldn't express my opinion. And I expressed it, but sometimes it was unpopular, but still, I never censored myself.
Yeah, well, it sounds like there was a healthy tension between the dreamers that didn't consider money or legality, and then in your case, you played the role of the pragmatist, I guess, who had to consider those things. And I think that's kind of a healthy situation, right? You need that balance, which is somewhat lacking, I think, in government and other areas today. Well, thank you so much, Anca. I know we're over time. Thank you very much for a very fruitful workshop. I just have a quick announcement before we leave. I'm sorry that we're over time today. Okay, so next week, our final two presenters are In-Young and Dong-hee. Here's some important dates. So next week is actually our last class for Module A, believe it or not. And then the following Monday, April 19th, is the deadline for the last assignment, which is your breakout reflection. Remember that one's worth, that one's worth more than the other assignments, because I'm asking for lots of things. I want the recordings and also some reflection on what went well, what could be better, and how would you maybe do it differently next time, or how would you suggest somebody to do it if you were to give advice. Okay, so that's due on April 19th. Then April 20th, which is during midterm week, there's no class. And then our first module